How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be very different. It's going to be more of a rant than anything informative, so I don't expect this video to do well, but I do want to talk about something that I experienced yesterday, and it was very annoying. And what am I talking about? Well, these guys right here. See if I can get that in focus. This is an analog stick. I have two. These both are bad. These are analog sticks from a Switch Lite, and yesterday I took it upon myself to switch these out for my son. These no longer work that well. They have Joy-Con drift. Well, they have what I call Joy-Con drift, but it's not a Joy-Con, it's more analog stick drift. And his Switch Lite was pretty much unplayable. So the original idea was to do a fun little video on me taking this thing apart, replacing the analog sticks. So I started recording. It took me about 3 hours to do the analog stick switch, and it was very painful. Let me get some water real quick. Good soup. But it was very painful. It was very time consuming, and it was one of the worst experiences I've had taking things apart. I've always loved taking things apart. It's been a big hobby of mine. If I have something that breaks, I want to take it apart and try to fix it. And I've done that with everything. But this did not work very well for me. So I started breaking into it. These right here, I would call these consumable products. Anytime you have something that's consumable, you want to ensure that they're not that difficult in replacing. Now, these little guys cost me 3 hours yesterday, and also cost you, my viewers, some annoyance as well, because I was planning on making a really nice video on 3D printing, and I also wanted to record a video on me switching to Apple, but I wasn't able to do that because of how long this took. But basically I had to pop the Switch out of the case, which that's on me. I had to remove the sticker. That's also on me. I then began removing the screws, and once I got the back cover off, I knew it was going to be painful, because first you have to remove the back cover. Second, you have to remove the metal, I guess, heat. It's kind of like a heat disperser, what I would call it, but it's a metal plate. You have to remove that. Third, you have to remove the battery, which not really remove, unplug the battery. And that's just as for safety precautions. So I did that. And then I went to iFixit, pulled it up, because I was at the point where I'm like, surely I don't have to take this thing completely apart just to replace some analog sticks. And that assumption was that you do have to. So I began removing screws. These screws were a different bit. So it was like a tri-bit, what I would call it. So I began removing all those screws. I had to remove a ton of screws. Once I got all the screws off, I did this side. I was able to pull it off. I removed the board on the left, unscrewed that, put the analog stick back in to the left side, and then I had to put that back on, screw it in. Then I do the same thing for the right side. So I pop that off, put the right side in, and then I began the hard job of putting the screws back together. So once I got all the screws back in, everything fit nicely, started putting everything back together, I then noticed that the case is designed in a way where it just doesn't make sense. So the case has 3 tabs on each side of the case, and it has a tab up here. And these tabs kind of have to be put in a certain way in order for the case to shut tightly and firmly. So I figured that out, and I got the top seated in properly. The left side seated in properly, but the right side did not seat properly. I had to actually use a flathead to push those pins in place. It's kind of like a plastic tab, so I used a pin to push those plastic tabs in place, push down, and I was able to get it back together. So here's my problem with this. These are consumable products. This is not something that will last the lifetime of the device. So I consider these consumable. I've seen other makers do this previously with a consumable product, and that is to make these things super easy to replace. It should not take 3 hours to replace 2 of these like it did me. And now, someone that's done this a million times, they may have this done in 30 minutes. But given that this was my first time doing it, it took me 3 hours. And I'm a very tech-savvy guy, so I could imagine how difficult it would be for someone that doesn't know technology to replace these. I don't even know if they would attempt that. They may just throw the whole switch away or send it off to a repair shop and pay tons of money. The one thing I can say about this is these stick replacements and these little baggy parts, they were dirt cheap. They were like maybe $13. So I am happy I was able to get those at such a cheap price, and I guess that's a good trade-off. When I go to a website that repairs switch lights, it doesn't give me the option to choose that in the menu for their estimate. So I'm assuming that it's not super cheap. All right, guys. So I did some looking around, and I cannot find anywhere of the prices for replacing the analog sticks. So I assume it's not super cheap. If you know what that price may be, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I looked around. I caught a few numbers here locally. All of them, funny enough, went to voicemail. So if I'm having this problem, then those who can't replace them is also going to have this problem. So that annoys me even more. So yeah, I don't know why I made this video, but I need a video out for Thursday, and I don't have time to record the video I wanted to make because this took way too long. So Nintendo, I know you're not watching. I know you never will watch this video, but it cost me 3 hours. And you made me not have a video that I wanted to have done today. So yeah. So feel free to let me know if you had any similar frustration to this, maybe another product. I really hope that when Nintendo releases their new Switch in the future, maybe whatever it's going to be called, Switch 2, Switch Pro, I don't know, but I really hope you guys consider making these as hot swappable as possible, because these are indeed consumable products. We need a way to switch these out without spending tons of time. But yeah, guys, thanks for sticking around. Sorry you had to listen to this rant, but I don't have time for another video. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.